All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I'm sure you guys saw it yesterday. The Chicago Bears officially hire both their offensive coordinator in Declan Doyle and their defensive coordinator in Dennis Allen. So Ben Johnson's coaching tree, his coaching staff pretty much set here. Now, obviously, the main one and the big one is Ben Johnson is the official head coach for the Chicago Bears, which is just game-changing to me. But Dennis Allen reportedly to be hired as Bears DC on Ben Johnson's staff. That's what NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reported late last Sunday night. It was funny. It was like the fourth quarter of the Bills-Chief game, and we get, oh, here's the two new coordinators for the Chicago Bears. Rappaport called Dennis Allen a respected guru and pointed to his experience that will help the first-year coach. And this doesn't come as too much of a surprise because last Monday, so 7 days ago, ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that Allen was the leading candidate for what could be a star-studded coaching staff over in Chicago. And Dennis Allen had a really interesting NFL coaching career thus far. He was the head coach for the Oakland Raiders back in 2012, 2013. They didn't do very good. He got fired 4 weeks into his third season, and he went to go be the Saints defensive coordinator with Sean Payton. And they made the playoffs for 4 seasons in a row when he was the DC from 2017 all the way to 2020, including when the Saints advanced to the NFC Championship game during the 2018 NFL season. His defenses finished in the top 7 in the league in points and yards allowed in each of his final 2 years as DC for the Saints, and then he was promoted to be their head coach. And for the last 3 years, Dennis Allen was or 2.5 full years, Dennis Allen was the coach for the New Orleans Saints. But before we get any further into today's video, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily Bears content. Try and get this video to 100 likes, folks. That would mean the absolute world to me. Now, Dennis, the last couple of years in New Orleans were really interesting. This past season, they went on a catastrophic losing streak. They truly were decimated on offense specifically, but both sides of the ball, they were decimated. But they got off to a 2-0 start with their new offensive coordinator, Kubiak. And it was really interesting because the Saints 2 years ago, at this point, 2 full seasons ago, 1 full season ago, whatever, went 9-8 with Derek Carr as their starting quarterback. And they didn't really have too much outside of offensively. Derek Carr, Chris Olave, and Elvin Kamara. They went 9-8. And everyone kind of forgot about the Saints. They've been in cap hell for quite some time now. And obviously last year didn't go as planned, and Dennis Allen ends up getting fired. The way I would describe Dennis Allen, and I don't mean this in a rude, disrespectful way at all, but it kind of reminds me almost of Josh McDaniels being an offensive coordinator versus being an NFL head coach. It reminds me of Matt Eberflus being a defensive coordinator as opposed to an NFL head coach. I think a guy like Dennis Allen knows exactly what he is doing schematically, player strength, player weaknesses on the defensive side of the ball. So I think as far as him being a defensive coordinator, it is A1 money, absolute money. But if he was the head coach for the Chicago Bears, I'd have some question marks here. But the good news is he is the DC, and I feel very good about it. Now, it doesn't end just there. The Bears also hired Declan Doyle as their offensive coordinator. He was the Denver Broncos tight end coach, and Tom Pelissero with NFL Network reported this. Doyle is 28 years old and actually got his coaching start with Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints, where he served as their offensive assistant from 2019 to 2022. He then followed Sean Payton to the Denver Broncos, where he served as their tight ends coach for the past 2 seasons. Now, as far as the Ben Johnson kind of connection here, Doyle worked with the Lions head coach Dan Campbell in New Orleans from 2019 to 2020. So when we zoom out real quick, here's a look at Ben Johnson's coaching staff so far. You got Dennis Allen, you got Declan Doyle, you have JT Barrett as your quarterback's coach, you have Antoine Randall, and you have Al Harris. So I really like this staff. He's kind of building it with really smart dudes. A lot of these guys have played in the National Football League as well, but he's just getting it with really smart dudes. JT Barrett's really interesting to me. Antoine Randall is really interesting to me. Obviously, we all remember Antoine Randall's NFL career, most likely. Al Harris with the Green Bay Packers, that pick 6 against Matt Hasselbeck. JT Barrett was a beast over at Ohio State not too long ago. But I like what Ben Johnson's doing. It's a very creative kind of new era, new age coaching tree that I don't think we've ever really seen over in Chicagoland, at least for quite some time. It always feels a little bit old, a little bit outdated, maybe a little unproven. Maybe that's the wrong word here, but it always just kind of feels a little outdated completely new change, obviously with Ben Johnson, but your offensive coordinator is 28. I mean, that's just insane. So you're going to see a lot of creativity from this Chicago Bears offense this upcoming season. I don't know, man. I'm really, it sucks because the Chicago Bears, a lot of people like to make fun of them that, they're always the off-season winners. And it just sucks because they're coming off a 4-12 season. But we saw so many good things from Caleb Williams. And they just did everything that every Bears fan has wanted for like the last 10 years. They went out there and they got the guy everybody wanted. Every single Bears fan out there, every single media guru, every NFL scout, coach, blah, blah, blah. The clear-cut, sexy choice was Ben Johnson, and that's exactly who Chicago gets. They go out there, they get an intriguing young offensive coordinator in Declan Doyle. They get a proven DC in Dennis Allen, but now we got to wait 8 whole months until we see Chicago Bears football. So I'm really curious to see what happens in free agency and in the draft, because this time last year, even when they were about to draft Caleb Williams, we knew that this roster was really good, and they continued to build around it in the offseason, specifically offensively. Day one of free agency, going out there and getting DeAndre Swift. They went out there and they traded for Keenan Allen, which was a crazy move. I remember seeing that. My jaw was wide. I was like, they just traded for Keenan Allen? I'm like, oh, wow, I think it's getting kind of real over in Chicago. And then they go out there and they draft Rome Odunze at pick number 9. And unfortunately, it didn't correlate in the win department. And Shane Waldron got fired really early on. Matt Eberflus ends up getting fired. There were way too many just coaching mishaps. The Washington game, the Detroit Lion game, there were way too many examples of just foolishness, like scratching your head going on in the Chicago Bears sideline. And so now they've built this really interesting coaching staff with this really intriguing group of players offensively and defensively. Specifically, last year's number 1 pick, Caleb Williams, 20 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. But we have to wait 8 whole months until we see Chicago Bears football. So February is going to be a little bit slow, especially now that Chicago's pretty much got their coaching staff locked down here. But free agency begins in March, so we won't be waiting too long for actual news or more actual news coming from the Chicago Bears. But folks, that's going to be it for me. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily Chicago Bears content. But folks, give me your thoughts on the Chicago Bears coaching staff down below so far. Once again, Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen, Declan Doyle, Antoine Randall L, JT Barrett, Al Harris, just to name a few. Go ahead and give me a grade down below for how you think the Chicago Bears have built their staff. But that's it for me. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. We'll see you in a couple of days. Peace.